This is Shy,
And this is Megan,
and this is the Magical Happy Hour.
a podcast where we share our love for Disney, theme parks, travel tips, food.
And anything else we feel like talking about.
It's episode 30, and on this episode, we're going to be talking about the history and secrets of the Disneyland Hotel.
I have been looking forward to this ever since we decided we were going to do this episode.
You know, I would have really not thought about doing this as an episode topic, but once we started diving into it, wow, this hotel has gone through much more than I ever would have thought it had. But it's been around for 70 years, so
There is a ton of history, and we're not even getting into all of it. We're getting into most of it, but I know there's plenty of things that we've missed, which is
yeah,
going to
like
be saying a lot because we have a lot.
hitting the big points for sure.
Yeah,
The notable events, majorly notable.
yes.
But first, of course, we'll start with some news.
Yes. So over at California Adventure Park in Carsland, there is a new station for you to order at the Cozy Cones, which I think is going to make ordering there a lot more convenient. You're just going to go and order from one location, it looks like, and then go to whichever cone to pick up your food and your beverages. I think it's going to run a lot smoother.
Yeah, it was pretty messy line situation with how they had it before. So I bet this will streamline it, make it a lot easier to just order and then go around and pick up your food. But I hope to try this maybe in a day or so. We'll
Yes.
see. So maybe next episode we'll have a little report on how easy it was or
Yeah.
difficult. Our next little piece of news is that Luke Skywalker has been announced to be a new member of Galaxy's Edge.
What do you think about this? I know you know Star Wars a little bit better than I do, I think.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I don't know, I'm not a huge Star Wars person. I know technically in like the storyline of Galaxy's Edge, Luke Skywalker doesn't really fit into it. I didn't see the whole Disney has recently put out a trailer on their social media, kind of teasing this, but I did not see that. I just saw other people reporting on it. So I didn't see like how clear Luke Skywalker is. I don't know if it's young Luke or it's older Luke because we have both in the story or we have both in the movies, just in different trilogies. But I think it's fun. I don't know. I don't like that other Star Wars stuff is like outside of Galaxy's Edge, at least in Disneyland. I think it's really strange that we still have stuff in Tomorrowland and in Galaxy's Edge, even though I'm a pretty big fan of Star Tours, and I know that would be a whole mess to change that. But I just don't think it's an issue. Like, timeline is pretty fuzzy in Galaxy's Edge at this point, anyways. Um, I don't know. I like it. I think that's really fun. I don't think Galaxy's Edge needs to be in a certain place in time. I think it's really fun that it is more of just like a a place and without time, maybe.
Yeah. I just remember when Galaxy's Edge, when they first started talking about it, they were saying you wouldn't ever see characters like Luke Skywalker in it because of their timeline ideas that they had.
Hmm.
But there was also a lot of things that they had said as far as expectations for Galaxy's Edge that we never saw or didn't see for years. So, I mean, it makes no difference to me. He looks exactly like the other guy that wears all black. So, I don't really know.
You're like, all Star Wars characters look exactly the same to me. It doesn't matter. No, I mean, technically, Luke does fit within this timeline, not when he was younger, but when he's older, because he is in like the newer trilogy. So the same time and place as like Kylo Ren and Rey. But I think technically Galaxy's Edge is supposed to take place between even trilogies. I don't even remember anymore. But the original idea for the land was for it to be kind of like an area that was like conducive to role playing.
Mm,
So I think that having it be a place set without time is really complementary to that idea. And I know that kind of that idea also has been lost, and people can visit that land without even knowing that that's an aspect of it. But I
Yeah.
think for the people that do enjoy that part, or having a place that they can actually like explore that opportunity, I think it's good to set it without time. I think it would be weird to have characters that never interacting, but that's all of Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like it. It's fun. Why not have familiar characters around?
Yeah, I totally agree. And the more live entertainment, the better.
Yes, I love running into the characters in Galaxy's Edge. So exactly, the
Me
more the
too.
merrier. Even sometimes there's like somebody you don't recognize, or I know there's some like original characters for Galaxy's Edge. I love them. Amazing. Don't know their names, but I don't know hardly anything about Star Wars. Very little. So
Yeah, I mean, the more the merrier.
yes, I agree. I think that just about wraps up our news, unless you have something else in your back pocket.
Oh, there was something that I did want to mention. Disney is offering free tickets for firefighters that were responding to the fires in Los Angeles, and I think that's really amazing. I don't know all of the details about it, but you can find out more on the Disneyland website. I think that's super cool. We should they absolutely deserve that and more. But I think that is the least that the company can do. And I'm happy that they're offering something to those first responders. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And thank you for telling me about it. Thank you for sharing that. My cousin he lives in Tracy. He was down at the Palisades responding to the fire with
Well,
his unit. So, I mean, he has two kids, him and his wife. His wife is actually my cousin, but they're married. Uh, that's how cousins work. I think that that's really awesome that they're able to do that. There's also some Disney merch available. Um, about like that their contributions go to the fire as well. I think it says like something like support LA, and it has Mickey Mouse on it. It's a pretty cute shirt.
oh, love that. That's awesome
Yeah. We'll post about both of those on our Instagram.
for sure. Let's jump into the bulk of this episode.
Ooh, shall we? Want to
So,
start us off?
we're going to be talking about the hotel through the decades, starting with the 1950s. And if you listened to our episode on nostalgia, you will know that Walt had spent everything he had and more on Disneyland itself, and he didn't have the funds on his own to construct the dreams that he had of having a hotel next to Disneyland for guests to stay overnight, making the parks a multi day experience.
So being the determined so being the determined person he was, Walt was going to get his hotel. It was difficult to find investors that believed in his dream. However, companies like the Hiltons turned him down due to fear that they weren't be able to get a return on their investment. Nobody had a theme park like this before. This wasn't, a proven concept. So whoever was going to take the jump was really going to be taking a jump. Knowing that, Walt turned to his friend Jack Rother, who was known for being an oil tycoon, but was also now a co-owner of Rather Alvarez Productions. He owned it along with Maria Helen Alvarez, who was the Alvarez part of that title. After a little convincing, he decided to take the chance and financed and became owner of the Disneyland Hotel.
1954 is when ground broke where once was just an orange grove right across from Disneyland Park. Guests of Disneyland's opening day were given brochures about what to expect of the hotel after its official grand opening. The hotel initially opened for business on October 5th, 1955, and the first night of operations saw only 7 rooms available for paying customers, with an eighth being used as a reservation area and lobby. A really cute little tidbit. The first registered guests were Mr. and Mrs. Robert Arnon of Inglewood, California.
We just got some locals that needed to see Disneyland or the Disneyland Hotel first day of operation. That's pretty cool. Could you imagine being them? They're one of what, just one of seven?
Yeah.
Do you think that was creepy? Or do you think it was just like really cool?
No, I think that's super cool. I wonder if they even knew how many rooms were available that night, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. I just would imagine it would be probably like a tight-knit group of people. But I
Yeah.
guess, it's not the hotel that we think of today. Sorry if you can hear that. There's a weird car outside and my cat meowing.
Looking at old photographs, it really looked more like a motel
Hmm,
than a hotel.
good point. Probably more like homey in a way than like these massive hotels that we see now.
Elaborate, extravagant. Yeah.
Well, we'll get to that, but moving on. The Disneyland Hotel was designed by Pereira and Luckman Architects, with the original blueprints calling for 300 motel and hotel rooms, suites, and garden apartments. In the plans, this was later more than doubled to 650 rooms. Included were plans for 3 swimming pools, tennis courts, a golf course, cocktail lounges, and 4 restaurants. There was even like noted on some brochures was the inclusion of an indoor outdoor nursery or nurseries. Maybe there are multiple of them. This was where parents could drop off their children to be cared for while the parents go sightseeing. And that was like a major selling point or one of the selling points of the hotel, which I thought was that was a foreign concept to me.
I could totally see it being appealing to adults. Like, just drop off your kids, go have a date night in Disneyland.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the sightseeing too, there was a specific tour company that
Oh,
maybe was the one that was shuttling them out. I don't know. Um, with the post with this episode on our Instagram, I'll include some of the Shine. I found some really awesome documents. We'll include all of our sources in our show notes. But some of the photos of, old brochures or newspaper clippings or other advertisements really give you some fun insight into what this hotel was looking like, how it was advertised, and I don't know. That was a fun time. I could see you in a past life being one of the nurses working at the Disney hotel, taking care of those little babies.
that sounds like something I'd love to do now.
Bring it back? Question mark. Bring it back?
I mean, why not? They have those like Disney nannies or whatever. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, when I first moved to Long Beach, people would tell me about it all the time, like offhand, while I was working at a brewery too, just because I don't know, people that know me know I've have experience in childcare. Um, I don't know, man. I don't know. That sounds, I don't know. Could be great, could be not good.
Yeah, I could definitely see it being not good, but I could also see it being really fantastic.
Like, I guess you're at Disney. How bad could it be? I don't know. I haven't been unsupervised with a child in Disneyland, to be honest. Just a
Probably shouldn't
baby.
be.
Hey, having like every other situation. No, I've hung out with a baby. I did just share in the last episode about going on Ariel or Little Mermaid with my friend's daughter and how I was so nervous and like kind of freaking out, even though she was the chillest kid, like literally just sitting and watching. But I'm like, what if she screams? What do I do? But that's not her. So, hey.
A situation where, it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Kids are great.
In August of 1956, the Disneyland Hotel had its official grand opening at a gala star-studded event. It was like a movie premiere. You were welcomed with a large marquee sign, which would eventually influence Disneyland's famous marquee sign. And the hotel now featured 204 guest rooms and suites, ranging in prices from $10 to $25 a night. It also had an Olympic sized swimming pool 17 distinctive shops known as the Patio Arcade Shopping Area, a cocktail lounge, and several restaurants. They even had a beauty salon, dentist, and doctor's office. There was a tram service even offered to take guests to and from the hotel right to the main entrance of Disneyland Park.
Like, literally, I feel like you don't have to leave. Like, they did a really good job of making it so you have everything right there at the hotel with you.
Yeah. And we will find out later on that the distance from the hotel to the entrance of the park was much shorter than it is now. So it was, I'm just saying, we could really use this accommodation now because we're even farther away from the entrance of the hotel.
But probably a lot closer to other shopping areas that have these things because
This is
Anaheim
true.
was so underdeveloped at that point.
This is true. I also wanted to mention the Oak Room, which Don Ballard will I'll include the interview that I listened to of his. He explains this as being sort of a snooty upper class kind of lounge area. Women were not allowed, and this was even through like the 90s.
Awful. What? No.
Yeah.
Jail. What?
Yeah.
Ew. Who wants to go here?
A bunch of snooty men, apparently. But that
Ew.
was something
Hanging
that
out at
existed.
Disneyland?
Mhm.
Okay. I'm judging them all. And Disney for having that. What? Wait, okay.
It was
So
a different time.
the 90s. Sorry. That is just shocking. That it was how okay, what year did it open? You said the late 50s, 56. And you said into the 90s?
That's like, I believe how long they had the Oak Room. I don't know if it, like, specifically didn't allow women all throughout its existence,
Mm-hmm.
but it for sure did not when it initially opened.
Gotcha. Okay. So it wasn't awful maybe the whole time. It just that does sound like a very, of course, very of the time, but also of course Walt wants like an area to kind of wine and dine his probably very
Investors and
yes.
such, yeah.
Like I was gonna say expensive men, but that's not it. His
Well,
expensive men.
we're not spreading a rumor that Walt Disney had expensive men, okay?
No, I meant his like you said, investors, like big spenders.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone finance pros are just expensive men. Sorry. Hmm. Okay. In the 19 moving on to the 1960s, in 1960, Walt Disney and Jack Rather announced plans for the extension of the Disneyland Alweg monorail system. This was to link the hotel to the park. Due to the popularity of the hotel, many other fantasy themed motels started to pop up around just like nearby the entirety of what is now pretty much the Disneyland resort. Um, they were all trying to cash in on the success of Disneyland. This personal transportation system, meaning the monorail, gave access right into the park from the Disneyland Hotel, which gave them just a major advantage.
And it still would today if it still existed.
Yeah, you know that amongst other things do need to come back.
Yes, and the fact that it's something that happens in multiple hotels at Walt Disney World,
Mm.
and it was initiated here. Hello, we need it here. 1961 brought a new 40-acre golf complex in a 13,000 square foot convention and exhibit center built above the hotel's shops. The monorail, with its extension to the Disneyland Hotel, opened to the public on June 11th, and along with it, the Monorail Lounge, which was basically a bar within or close to the monorail loading station. A helipad was also added to transport people straight to the hotel from the LA airport and would eventually become the busiest helipad in the world.
Okay, so we just have like an abundance of transportation, like just funneling you into this resort area.
Yeah.
Again, with the monorail though, I'm like, yes, we need it for the hotel because that would be awesome. Like you said, Disney World has it. Like clearly that's a whole incentive to like stay, excuse me, um like stay on property, right? Like
Hmm.
that's the terminology we use. And like with this, a monorail lounge, like we need that back. That would be so cool. That would be so cool. Or even like what if we had like a whole monorail that was like a lounge, just like kind of going through. That would be so fun. Now I'm just blue skying fun ideas. Sorry. I'm gonna like I could go on. But I will say the helipad, I don't think we need back. I don't think we need that one maybe. Monorail is a little safer.
Yeah. Um, I'm going to say no to the helipad as well. I don't think that we need that. Although that must have been super cool at the time,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like that would be like peak experience. Like you probably felt so fabulous. Like
right?
let me just helicopter from the airport to Disneyland's front yard, front step.
Yeah, like who needs to get a Lyft or an Uber from LAX when you could just take a helicopter?
Yeah. LA traffic who?
Nope,
I'm in the
not
air.
me, flying right over it.
In October of 1961, ground officially had broken for the construction of the 11-story high-rise tower called the Sierra Tower. Today, this building is known as the Adventure Tower. This building, the first major expansion of the hotel, was designed by the Los Angeles architects Weber and Nicholson and erected by C.L. Peck contractors and engineers. These firms would oversee the expansion of the Disneyland Hotel for most of the next 2 decades. This tower would be home to the Top of the Park Lounge with an exclusive glass elevator attraction that would take you there. Like awesome views for sure, right? But at this time, and this sounds real nice, but at this time, the Disneyland hotel rooms were pretty much from $20 to $30. Was that just in this tower?
Yes,
Or yeah, okay. So rooms at
yes.
the new,
These were the prices for the new tower,
which as of 2019 would be about $170 to 260.
which is not what they were actually charging in 2019.
No, 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 no. Like upwards of 400, nearly $500.
Yeah, I think maybe the minimum is 250 to 300, and now we're
Yeah.
closer to $400 or $500 minimum to stay here. So,
Inflation rates does not always affect the actual price of things.
right.
But I did want to say, because here we are talking about another lounge, another bar, essentially, right?
Hmm.
I know that there's a whole thing about like alcohol in Disneyland, and Disneyland doesn't serve alcohol, and people debate about what Walt would want. I'm sorry, this man loved a cocktail lounge.
He did.
100%, right? Like,
Yes.
this man loves a cocktail lounge. This man is making sure his guests are thoroughly liquored up if that's what they would like to do. I don't think we should continue to fight it or argue about it because it's been happening forever. Yeah, the hotel is different from the park, and they didn't control the hotel, or, they didn't own the hotel, I should say. But, I just feel like it's been a part of the culture the whole time.
This is so true. In 1966, an expansion was made to include the plaza, which included shops and boutiques on the first two floors with offices located on the top floor. Also, a new 18-hole golf course, driving range, and miniature golf was added to the resort. It would be really fun to have a miniature golf course like this here again. I think that'd be really cool. Each area was themed to areas and icons of the park, including Monstro, Adventureland, Tomorrowland, Skull Rock, Matterhorn, and of course, Sleeping Beauty's castle. But there were more. By the end of this year, we would experience the loss of the beloved Walt Disney, who himself never made any efforts to purchase the hotel from the Rothers, according to an interview done with Don Ballard.
Yeah, it seemed like Don Ballard was really in the mix of like the development of the hotel. So that's really cool to like that you're able to find that interview and gain that insight from him.
So this interview was done in like 2017. He wasn't like a person from this time period. He's just a historian.
Yeah. Ooh, sorry. In the mix, he's done the research.
Yeah.
He's been out there talking to the people, learning about the stuff. There's some fun pictures of the miniature golf course, so I'll include those as well. I don't remember exactly. I think I remember seeing pictures of like the castle, and then there was something that looked kind of like a Mickey Mouse like fountain. But I'd like to find the Monstro because big fan.
Yeah. Let me see that whale.
By 1968, the helipad was shut down due to two major incidents. We did mention it was dangerous, as well as there was an announcement of the Marina Tower, which is now known as the Fantasy Tower. But this would open in 1970 with 319 rooms, meaning at this point, guest rooms reached a total of 1,000.
I'm not even sure if we have quite 1,000 rooms offered today.
Interesting. Yeah, there was, we'll get into it later, but that's one of the reasons that we have more hotels today is because of the Disneyland Hotel losing some.
Hmm. This 1970 expansion also saw the additions of Dancing Waters, which was also known as Waltzing Waters, it was a traveling water show that I believe was initially shown during one of the World's Fairs.
Of
Um,
course,
of
we can't
course.
escape it.
And if you watch old footage of Dancing Waters, you'll see that it was definitely a precursor to what we know today as the World of Color. This expansion also brought the addition of a marina with a sandy beach and cove pools opened along with Restaurant Row, which was an expansion of the previous shopping district of the hotel and the hotel's travel port. Vacationland, which was an on-site RV park, also opened this year, which is pretty cool. 1972, a new convention center was opened, and in 1978, the Bonita Tower, which is now known as Frontier Tower, brought up the room total to about 1,500. This building was named after Jack Rother's wife, Miss Bonita Granville Rother. And this tower was built off of the Waterworld portion of the resort, and it included beautiful rockwork and waterfalls. Along with this expansion also came more dining options, including a space to dine with a view of dancing waters, which also got an upgrade with a new lighting package and fiber optics.
Growing up, I remember my stepmom's side of the family, her talking about staying at an RV where my family had a bus, which was probably what they were in. But either way, they would talk about taking that to Disneyland. And I was always like, where did you park it? Where did it go? Because, we think about, and especially then when I was a kid, I would think about seeing Disneyland as it is today.
Right.
I had no idea there was a whole part of even the hotel affiliation that was an RV park, which is wild to think about now just because I don't think people road trip as much.
Yeah, it's true.
But I don't know. That seems so fun. They have something like that in Disney World though, right?
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess more people are road tripping to Florida than California.
I guess so.
While we're in the 70s, it's worth mentioning Rather also owned Inn at the Park, which was a sort of sister hotel to the Disneyland Hotel in the 70s. It was proposed for a time to connect the two resorts with the monorail. This hotel, Inn at the Park, is now the Sheraton Park Hotel. It's notable that the Disneyland Hotel may not have maintained its glass elevator, which was that major attraction that we mentioned earlier to get to the top of the park.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was advertised as cocktails, entertainment, and a spectacular view. So just, I'm just gonna reiterate, we love the cocktails here. But if you do want to go into a glass elevator, the Sheraton Park did keep theirs, but it's not so much as like a selling point as it was at the Disneyland Hotel.
Not too much changes throughout the 80s. However, it is important to mention that in 1984, Jack Ruther passes away and Michael Eisner ends up becoming the CEO of the Disney company, with one of his main goals being to attain ownership of the Disneyland Hotel. And in 1988, this was achieved by acquiring the entirety of Jack Rother's company and later selling off the additional assets, leaving just the hotel in the possession of the Disney company.
Yeah. So it is fun to know, maybe. For me, it's fun to know because I live in Long Beach. But a few of the other things that Jack Rother's company owned was the Queen Mary and the Spruce Goose, which are both located in Long Beach, just off the Bay Shore. But that was also near the area where Disney was looking at to open their second park. So when Westcott was kind of in proposal, I think there were some other names thrown around as well, but they were looking at that Long Beach, like marine park area, probably because they already owned some attractions nearby. So moving into the 1990s, again, kind of a slow decade for the Disneyland Hotel. But in 1999, the following was closed: the monorail station, the original lobby, North and South garden rooms, the shopping arcade, Restaurant Row, the plaza, and the original swimming pool were all demolished to make space for the new downtown Disney district. So, a very prominent change, very significant change to that entire area of the park, not just the hotel, or I should say the resort, not the park. Streets previously used to access the hotel by car were regraded or were outright eliminated, and a new street was built to access the hotel. Tram service to and from the hotel was also discontinued, leaving the monorail as the only vehicular mode of transportation from the park to the hotel. The marina and all of its restaurants were demolished, as well to build the Neverland themed pool, and the Grand Californian was designed and created to make up for the rooms lost during the demolition. That's what you were mentioning earlier, right?
Yeah.
About maybe there's not even 1,000 rooms now.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I mean, we got that Grand Californian, which is pretty big, right? So,
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm like, you stayed there. You're much more familiar than me.
it's pretty massive.
But then also, Pixar Place, we now have as well.
Yeah, so this pretty much demolished everything that was from the original 1955, 1956 opening of the Disneyland Hotel. And all that was left really were those three towers that were built.
Hmm.
So there is not really anything reminiscent of like opening day from the hotel, which is pretty sad.
It it is. It's pretty disappointing that there wasn't more that was preserved.
Moving into the 2000s, in 2005, the Disneyland Hotel letters that were at the top of the Sierra Tower were removed due to the city of Anaheim, and they were replaced by shooting stars. And then in 2007, the glass elevator on the Sierra tower officially gets removed, as well as a name change for all three towers, which then became Dreams, Magic, and Wonder Tower. Then in those names didn't stay very long
No.
because then in 2009, an announcement was made in regards to a renovation that would be taking place in guest rooms as well as the exterior of the hotel. Another name change came as well, reflecting the names that we have today. So I know it was mentioned earlier, but I just wanted to restate it. The Sierra Tower becomes what we know now as the Adventure Tower. The Marina becomes the Fantasy Tower, and the Bonita becomes the Frontier Tower. All three of these towers completed their updates by 2012, and the Neverland pool was remodeled to become three different pools: the e-ticket, D-ticket, and monorail pool.
I'm very excited to see the pools with you. If you didn't hear the last episode, go listen to it. Find out what we're talking about. In 2011, two new dining locations opened, giving us the Tangaroa Terrace and Trader Sam's. They replaced Hook's Point, the Wine Cellar, Croc's Bits and Bites, and the Lost Bar. I think that's really our last significant point on the Disneyland Hotel timeline, just until modern day, just a couple years ago.
Yes. So we recently got a new tower at the Disneyland Resort, and it's called the Discovery Tower. Inside, it has villas. They're more like it was created for DVC members or Disney Vacation Club members, but anyone can book a room and stay there. The rooms are really cool because they're really great like family style rooms. They have things like microwaves and dishes, cutlery. Some of them have entire kitchenettes, which are really nice. And they're designed more with like families in mind. And this also came with an opening of the Palm Breeze Bar, as well as a new pool over in that area. I forget what the pool is called, but they get a pool of their own, which is really nice.
Oh, that's significant. They just get their own pool?
Yes, and if you're staying anywhere in the hotel, you can access their pool as well. But
Okay, I was
they
going
got
to
a
ask that
cute little
next.
steamboat Mickey splash pad.
Okay, so it's a kiddie pool?
No, that's just they have a regular size pool. They also have a splash pad.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah, because even just the restaurants that we mentioned, like those editions of, we've gotten even like other ones since then, right? I don't know when there's the coffee house, not sure what year that was included, but it seems like the hotel has a history of having some sort of coffee shop inside of it.
Hmm.
But also just recently that Broken Spell Lounge, which was something else before,
I believe
and
it
it kind
was
of got a
Steakhouse
retheme.
51 before.
Mm, 55.
Steakhouse 55, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering because I saw while we were doing our research, I saw Steakhouse 55 is listed as a previous dining location. I'm like,
Mhm.
why does that sound incredibly familiar? I wonder if that was recent, but what you're saying makes sense.
I'm surprised they didn't bring that back as it was after the reopening after COVID because it was super popular. People really, really, I heard a lot about that dining
Steakhouse
location.
55.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I remember people saying that it was like the best place to eat on property.
Oh, wow. Do you know if very much about it changed or just the theming? It sounds like it's much more of like a lounge. Well, they call it a lounge, whereas before it sounded more maybe more formal dining.
I think it was more formal dining before, and they also had a section for the Oak Room, like as an
Oh,
homage to the old one. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Can't hate on
goodbye.
the Oak Room too much.
Not forever, just for the initial premise.
They didn't want us.
No kidding.
But that about wraps up the history of the Disneyland Hotel.
This was exciting. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm slightly mourning the loss of some of that good retro stuff that they had going on with the hotel to begin with. Thank you so much for listening. We post new content every Saturday, so please follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you listen so you never miss an episode.
And don't forget to review and rate us 5 stars, share it with your friends, and subscribe to at Magical Happy Hour Podcast on Instagram. Megan, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Megan Creedon. Shai, what about you?
You can find me on Instagram and on TikTok at Disney Obsessed Nurse. And if you're interested in having a professional travel agent that specializes in Disney and Universal Studios plan your next vacation, you can find the link to my website in our podcast notes or email me at Cheyenne@vincentvacations.com.
Join us next time where we will be covering the entire Food and Wine 2025. I don't know why that was a question. Foodie guide and other things that are happening as a part of the festival. Cheers!
Cheers!